Hi, this is Chris Converse, and in this episode, we're going to restyle a plain hyperlink into being a linked logo for our web page. Now, for search engines and accessibility, we want to make sure that the HTML elements are simple and full of information about the content. However, this is not very attractive to look at. In the example for this episode, we'll take an SEO and accessibility-friendly hyperlink and we'll transform it into something more visually appealing by adding a graphic using CSS. Now, if you'd like to follow along with me, download the exercise files, and let's begin by opening the index.html file in a text editor. Now, in the HTML file, we have a header area here. Inside of the header, we have an h1 and we have an anchor tag. And this is the anchor tag that we're going to apply a logo to. So here we have an anchor tag that's got a title. We have an href, and we have the label or the linked text of the anchor tag. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put the text here inside of a span element. So after the beginning anchor tag, let's add a less than sign. Type in the word span, then a greater than sign. Then let's get our cursor after the Y in company, and then we'll end the span element. Now we're doing this so that we can hide the span element from viewers, but again, it's still in the HTML and accessible for screen readers and search engines. And now the second thing that I'll do up here before the title is add a class. So I'll set class equals, two quotes, and then type in logo. So that's the only thing we're going to change about the anchor tag. And now to see what our page looks like before we make any CSS changes, let's open index.html up in a browser. So here we can see our logo is just a simple text link up in the header area. So now we'll go back to our exercise files. Let's find style.css. Let's open this up in our text editor. Let's scroll down to the bottom. I'll add a few returns down here. And now let's first target the span element inside of our anchor tag with a class of logo. So we'll type header, space, a.logo, then a space, then span, put in our brackets, and we'll simply come in here and set a display property to none. Now when we preview this in a browser, we'll now see that the text for that anchor tag is not showing up. It's still in the HTML, but we don't see it in the browser's viewport. And now before this rule, let's target the anchor link itself. So header space a.logo. Let's put in our brackets. Let's split these open. And the first property we'll set is the display type. So we're going to change the display type of that anchor link to an inline block. This way we can give it some dimensions. So on the next line, we're going to set a width. We'll set the width to 250 pixels. Next line, we're going to set the height. We're going to set the height to 50 pixels. Next, we're going to bring in an SVG graphic as the background. So on the next line, let's come in here and set a background property. We'll use shorthand style here. The first property would be color, but we're not going to set a color. So the second value is URL. So we'll type in URL, beginning and ending parenthesis. Inside, we're going to point to the images directory. So we'll type images / travel_company.svg. Then after the parentheses, we'll set the repeat property to no repeat, then a space, then 0 for the X and 0 for the Y position. Now by default, the background graphic should scale to the dimensions of the logo. So this should automatically scale to 250 by 50. However, I like to make sure that I'm specifying this in the CSS as well. So on the next line, we're going to set a background size and we'll set this to contain. And so now with these in place, if we go back to the browser and hit reload, we'll now see that we have a hyperlink showing up where we don't see that original text, but we see the graphic in the background. And then we can see the title attribute showing up as a tooltip since we haven't changed any of the base HTML. And then the last thing we'll do is just set some positioning properties. So let's go back to our CSS. After background size, new line, let's set position to absolute. Let's set a top property to 10 pixels and a left property to 25 pixels. And so now with these rules in place, we've transformed a standard hyperlink into an attractive linked logo for our web page. Now, if you'd like to take this idea one step further and create a responsive SVG logo for your hyperlink, check out Chapter 2 of the Advanced Techniques in Responsive Web Design course we have here in the library. And to learn more about positioning elements, check out a previous episode in this series about the position property in CSS. And so with that, I'll conclude this episode, and as always, thanks for watching.